Hello everyone, welcome back sort of to the GamerTime podcast. We've kind of not forgotten to do it for a while, but been busy, I suppose is a good excuse. We did sort of 4 maybe episodes, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the 5th official episode of the GamerTime podcast. I'm Nevada and I'm joined this time by Gav, Harrison and George. So, everyone wants to say hello?
Hello.
Was a good collective hello.
Should we assign a name to each voice? I'm Gavin. I'm an editor. I hang around and annoy people about commas and things. Yeah, saying this week that was quite generous. It's been a very long week since the last one.
Yes.
Perhaps not weeks on this planet, but somewhere else.
Exactly. Somewhere in the universe it could be counted as a week.
Hi, I'm George. I write the website.
And hi, I'm Harrison. I'm the new blood to the team, just coming on. So we'll see how this goes, and I'm looking forward to talking about everything, gaming-wise. It's gonna be fun.
Cool. Okay, so guys, what you've been playing recently? I heard some of you guys were playing Titanfall, so if you want to talk about that for a bit, that'd be cool. Because I haven't and don't actually know anything about it apart from that it's the second game.
Yeah, it's really good fun. I mean, I haven't bought a new game in so long, let alone buying one at release and just kind of jumping in. But I've had a lot of fun with it, just running around really.
Super. Did you want to just briefly explain what it is to people like me who don't really know?
It's a multiplayer shooter that basically gives you, rather than more the sort of realism focused ones that we've had recently, it gives you a double jump. You can run along walls. You have a grappling hook that you can be almost Spider-Man with. And if that wasn't enough, you get giant robot suits to climb inside and punch people with.
Always good.
Or you can get a giant minigun too that just absolutely wrecks everything.
Awesome.
That's pretty good fun.
And it's the game that Call of Duty shamelessly ripped off after the first one for their subsequent games with the wee jetpacks and wall running and everything.
Because the first one didn't do very well, did it?
Sorry, go ahead, George. It did alright. I mean, it sort of had a good concept, but the campaign wasn't really a campaign. It was sort of more like a short cutscene sort of thing through the multiplayer maps. But it was a good first attempt, but this one definitely increases the multiplayer action and gives it a lot more parkour running, Titan smashing focus. George, you want to take away?
Yeah, I mean the campaign was basically you just played 10 multiplayer missions, and then they just throw in a little cutscene before each one, but they weren't actually, nothing actually happened during the missions. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it seemed like a lot of the criticism I heard was just there wasn't quite enough to sustain the community. And I didn't jump in and play the first one until about a year after its release, because I played it for the free 24 hours on Origin. And actually I was playing with a friend, and it was really, and sort of as soon as I got into the game, I was like, wow, this movement system is incredibly fun, and just entertained myself sort of parkouring around the map. But no one was online sort of a year after release, which was sad. So I wasn't really able to play any games. But
failed a bit on retention, I think. Aren't all the DLC? They're not going to charge for it this time around for map packs.
No, well they tried to get some of the community back. Cause they initially charged for all the DLC in the first one, and then I think it got to the point where the community was just dying, so they tried to restart it by releasing all the DLC for free, but kind of past the point they were saying.
Yeah, I remember going in and they had that free DLC, I think a couple of months after you bought the first game, where they released all the maps for free and stuff like that to try and bring people back in.
But no, the second one seems to be having a lot more success. It's in a weird place where it's getting praise everywhere, but people on the internet are sort of split between, oh, no one's playing it, it's got a really bad release window, which in truth it does, and then the people that are like, no, it's excellent, if we all play the game, then it won't have issues with the community.
Yeah, I think I'd seen a couple of places saying that it hasn't had great sales, but it's quite unusual for a game that's not done commercially well to have a second one released for it.
Yeah, of course, because EA have said that they're
it's-
committed to the Titanfall franchise. So I mean, we'll potentially see a third one if Titanfall 2 doesn't bomb completely. But there were,
I mean,
they're saying the release window I think was particularly bad for the game because releasing a week after Battlefield 1, and I mean Call of Duty's just around the corner.
It's not far off, I don't think, is it?
Yeah, it's the kind of game that relies on the player base of those two games, and so not those two games, you know what I mean? That kind of segment of the audience. And so if they're already dropping money on Battlefield, and then they plan to drop another, say, £50 on Call of Duty later in the month, they're probably not going to take a punt on an unknown game in the middle.
I think it would have been much better to just have like a spring release date. Would have been much nicer for it, but
yeah.
I mean, I think it sort of works into it though if you think about it, because if you the comparison between the two games. I mean, for me, playing Titanfall 2, I don't know if you agree, George, but I think it's a lot better than Battlefield 1. I mean, it has a better parkour system, it has more interesting mechanics, and in this case, you have 6 Titans to choose from as opposed to 3, like in the original. And also with the parkour system.
I mean, I can't compare it to Battlefield 1. I wasn't able to get into the beta, but no, like it's definitely. Cause I mean, I haven't really played sort of gotten involved with multiplayer shooter for a while, but it feels really fresh. Well, as fresh as the second game a year later can feel. But it feels exciting, and I think that's what I love though is the fact that there are so many brilliant moments within the multiplayer that entertain me, even though they're not necessarily what's going on. So in a Call of Duty game, a lot of the joy comes from you're in a team deathmatch, you get a kill, yay, you throw a grenade, you get the kill, exciting. Moving around the map, it's functional, you've got to think about it, but you don't derive a huge amount of enjoyment from it. Well, actually, I mean, the last one I played was 4, so I can't speak for the ones that have double jump and stuff. But yeah, in Titanfall, I've found so many moments where it made you feel really cool, like there's a grappling hook that you can get, and there have been moments where you leap from wall to wall, you're sprinting along, and then you slingshot around a corner and slide, and it's just these tiny moments that you pull off almost without thinking, and you suddenly think that was awesome.
Cool. So
I remember playing the Ronin Titan, the one with the sword, and just going in and just battering 3 people with the blink and maneuvering around them and just smashing them and stuff. And when you had that awesome animation when they went into the doom state and you just went through them with the sword, I mean, those moments you really can't make up, and it's something that I think makes Titanfall 2 a little bit unique in comparison to Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it kind of, where Battlefield wants to go for the epic set piece of, sort of combined arms warfare, Titanfall gets those really like micro cinematic moments kind of down, really. Like it just gives you all the tools to the player to create them. You don't actually need to rely on being able to best another person in the multiplayer. You can have fun even if you're getting completely destroyed.
Yeah,
there's something.
Sorry, go on, Gav. Go on, Gav.
I was just going to say, there's something to be said for just making like the very smallest building blocks of your game enjoyable, rather than being something you have to like struggle through to get to shooting people. Like, I mean, in COD, if I'm running around on a map, it's just boring. It's like it's dead space in between me spawning and me finding someone to shoot at. So I guess if you have a fun way to shift about, probably better time.
Yeah, because the start of the campaign, which I have yet to dive into properly, I've just done. There's a gauntlet, which is really similar to the kill house that you play in the Call of Duty 4 tutorial, and it's basically just this obstacle course that you've got to run through, and it times you. But I just spent so long just trying to get a great time in, because I was just having so much fun with the movement. I started obsessing over it, and I haven't actually gotten any further in the campaign because I'm still trying to get my time down.
Yeah, I agree with you, George. I remember, I think I did that like 6 or 7 times just to try and get the perfect time of like 37 seconds or whatever. But I couldn't
Yeah,
get anywhere close.
I got to
or whatever.
39,
I
but
was like,
those extra
oh,
those
that's
extra
so
2
good, though.
seconds just feel like a year.
I was going to say, it sounds a lot more, like you said before, cinematic compared to a lot of other shooters that are coming out at this time. Some of the bits you said reminded me a bit of... I recently finished, finally, playing through Uncharted 4, and some of the bits that are not set pieces, but where you like you grappling hook and swing across a like a precipice, shoot a guy, jump on top of another one, and like just those really awesome moments where you just think, that was cool, wasn't it? Like, regardless of anything else that's happening, you go, that was pretty badass.
Yeah, I think that's
Just like those
that's
action
what it
movie
is.
moments.
Like, it's just so kinetic, and you're always moving. Like, you're always moving. It's just constantly exciting, and because the movement is exciting, you're always having fun. So on a battlefield, I guess Battlefield, it's like, cool, I've spawned. I guess it's a hike to get to point B. Whereas in Titanfall, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, I've spawned. Oh, there's a wall over there. I can run and I can jump off that wall, slingshot round the corner, slide under the doorway, and then perhaps double jump through the window. And like suddenly just getting to the fight is as fun as the fight itself.
You see,
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
you've pretty much sold me on it, because I really enjoy Destiny. I play Destiny probably far more than I should, and I can't get on with normal shooters, especially not after playing Destiny for so long, because I like just the breadth of movement and the choice of things to do at any given moment. Like, I find that quite a lot of other shooters are quite restrictive compared to like in Destiny, I can teleport past a building, switch between 2 different weapons, and then shoot off a giant space laser or something. It has more. I suppose it's more of a 3-dimensional sort of space you're moving in, rather than just forwards and to side to side. So you're moving up and down more.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. I mean, that's the one thing I wish they would change, is just to improve the movement slightly. Is that the grappling hook that you have? It's like a perk, sort of, rather than being a default loadout.
It is, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Level 4.
so I think because I love it so much. While it's it's not perhaps the best upgrade I could be using. I just can't use any of the others, because suddenly as soon as I don't have the grappling hook, it suddenly feels like I'm glued, like not glued to the ground, but I've lost that extra kind of axis of movement,
Mobility.
and so I can never use anything else.
Yeah. That sounds really good.
Yeah, I don't know how.
That
I don't
sounds
know how
really
you
good.
feel,
Sort of. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think what it does is sort of it introduces this new vertical movement to like a ground-based shooter, which just increases the options that you can do. I mean, you can, as you said, you can wall run around corners, then crouch, and then shoot someone, or you can use the hook to get to those places you couldn't get to in like Call of Duty or other titles. And the new Titans also really mix it up with the Ronin being the sword fighting class, and the really cool cinematics and stuff like that. So it's a really good improvement, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because in the first one you had 3 like default, you had kind of 3 sizes of Titan, but then each one could be customized.
Yeah.
Where in this one they're just giving you 3 set classes with set weapons and abilities that you can change very slightly.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost better, because it makes it slightly easier to immediately evaluate the threat. So if you run around a corner and you're Titan, and you see something in front, and you see an enemy Titan in front of you, you immediately know like what that Titan is. You know, if it's a Ronin, oh, I don't want to get near him because he's got a sword, or he's carrying a massive minigun, and you're like, I'm going to back off because he's a bit heavy, which I think is good.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of makes the class, the old sort of trinity of tank, sort of DPS and healing. It's sort of, even though we don't really have a healing class in Titanfall 2, it sort of makes each role a little bit more apparent. So, the big heavy Gatling gun as the tank, the Ronin as sort of the rogue or the really agile class that can land sort of critical hits, and sort of the the 30mm cannons sort of being that precision based sniper class, I'd say.
Yeah, the Titans are definitely like really varied, which I think is great. I think my only gripe, would be they don't do a great job of explaining the system. Like, they throw a lot of information at you, more just in the multiplayer menus and everything, but don't so it's kind of, and it's not super intuitive as to how you change upgrades on your Titan, or what, like, you can change faction, but I have no idea what that actually does. And there are lots of banners and customizable stuff, and I think it takes a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but in the first one I remember it sort of had a more of a tutorial around the multiplayer, in that it sort of introduced you to the movement, introduced you to the Titans, and then introduced you to sort of the options of how to use it. Whereas I agree with you, George, in that this one sort of thrusts you into combat, and that you're expected to really pick it up very quickly and know sort of what each Titan does. And if you don't, you sort of get wrecked very easily. So
yeah, apparently the Titans you get in multiplayer, they're all the same as the ones you play in the campaign. So I think campaign might serve as a tutorial, but it's kind of on me because I haven't actually jumped into that yet. But actually, that was one thing I really liked, is that because the movement systems are identical, so much of the skill that you develop in single player can immediately just be transferred into multiplayer.
See, that's quite good, because I often used to find that when playing shooters, the multiplayer is a whole different kettle of fish. There's entirely different tactics and movement and stuff that you'd have to use. You have to basically relearn a second game compared to the single player, because it's a lot of it was based on how the AI would react rather than how you would behave. So that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, that's I think which is really nice. If you're great at the movement in single player, it just transfers seamlessly into multiplayer, and you'll have a great time.
Cool.
Yeah, the integration is really good. It's really good.
And also, I think the game includes some of the modes include AI. So even if you can't kill a human control player to save your life, you can at least run around the map contributing to the team by killing the opposing AI.
Well, that's quite nice. It's almost like a transition then, isn't it, between full-on multiplayer and full-on...
Yeah, because the main sort of, I guess the sort of flagship mode is called attrition, and basically most games are only 5 versus 5, but they... Yeah.
5,
and they fill it out by having... So in attrition, it's just, it's basically just team deathmatch, but you have a whole load of AI allies who they're not pilots, they're just kind of foot soldiers that run around the map, and they're pretty useless. But they kind of fill out the battlefield and kind of make it feel kind of full and kind of hectic.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with George in that the AI really does a good job of making you feel like you're not a very good... if you're not doing that well, you're still contributing to the team, even if it's, going around just killing these AIs. I mean, you can still end up being, second or third in the team, which I find is really good. I mean, in Call of Duty and stuff, you need to have, you need to be a pro and have a lot of kills to be on those upper echelons of, rankings. But in Titanfall 2, I mean, you can be, second or third and just kill the AI.
Yeah, I think there's one weird thing that they've done with multiplayer, is that which I think is hurting it slightly, because I have struggled at times playing games, but the way they've laid out all of the game modes in the menu, there are they have a sort of 2x4 row of all the game modes, but there's a really with a small arrow to the far right, and then you have to just click the arrow to get to the 3 that aren't on the screen. But it's not super obvious, and so loads of people don't find those last 3 game modes.
That's
it wasn't until my second or third time playing I was like, oh, hang on, there's an arrow there.
Yeah, I think it's only extra 3 they could have.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've seen photos of people just being like, this is what they should have done, and just had 3 rows. And
Yeah.
and then, like, and it is having an effect because I've tried to whatever games, because they at least cycle them round, so it's different ones
Hmm.
on the front page, but whichever 3 are in the second page, it's really difficult to find the game.
Maybe they'll patch it or something, and they'll move the layout or something like that. Because they've always got that option.
Yeah, no, hopefully they'll be fixed with the patch.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say is there's a slight balance issue with some of the perks, which are, there's loads and loads of, well, I think there's 3 items which basically they're like sonar items, and the one's like a little knife thing that you throw, and it emits a sonar and basically reveals all the players within a certain area. And then there's a perk which basically reveals all the players on the map, and then there's a Titan that can do a similar thing and send out a pulse and reveal the players.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's almost too good, and the fact that you can have an entire team with, like, they can have their Titan that reveals the map, plus their little, like, map revealing knife thing, plus I think it's called like a boost, which is almost kind of like a kill streak thing that reveals the whole map. They can kind of just steamroll because they have so much information that they know where you are at all times. And it kind of, and that's the thing, it's a bit of an issue when you can teams just steamroll because they know exactly where you are at all times, so they just have one person trigger it, trigger their map reveal, then the next person.
I mean, I agree with you, George, in that I don't know if you found this playing your multiplayer games, but using the radar trick that you just described, as well as like having multiple Titans, like 2 versus 1, I mean, it's very difficult to win because you have those sort of directional shields that only face in one direction. So sort of it's hard to defend like your back against those sort of shots. So if you have people ganging up with the radar in addition, it becomes a little bit unwinnable. So overpowered.
Yeah, like it can be sort of annoying. Like you jump in and then like sometimes you'll just run in and someone will just shoot you, and you'll see that they couldn't even see, like they were just waiting for you around the corner because they saw you spawn with the sonar. I know that's the thing also, because not every people get Titans at a different point throughout the game. So you basically have a little bar in the screen that tracks when you can call in a Titan. And playing the objective fills it up. Getting kills fills it up, and then you can call it in. But there's something I quite like is there's almost sort of a strategy as to when you call it in, and you basically get to point on the map just to where the Titan falls. So sometimes you'll see the enemy team will end up with like 2 Titans and no one on your team has a Titan. And so often I just wait for someone else to get their Titan in, and then once the enemy team are engaging my teammate, I'll just call in my Titan behind the other 2, and then you can kind of get them up. Or sometimes you can even call your Titan down on top of enemy Titans. I've had it's where you call in a Titan and you run into a building so that the enemy follows you and just stands outside the building trying to shoot you, and then your Titan just crushes them. Which is quite fun.
Speaking of Titanfall, right? I've not said anything in a while, so I feel the need to speak up. Otherwise people will forget I'm here. So one of the things, I have pretty exacting standards for my giant robots, right? I'm a giant robot enthusiast, and I honestly think that the Titans look minging. They've got awful designs. They're hideous. That's my problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're super, like,
they're not like Gundam style Titans, yeah.
They're kind of they're a bit blobby.
Yeah, they're either blobby or I think I don't mind the blobby ones so much, but I think it's interesting conceptually, the idea of like quite a lanky robot. But like I think the thin ones just look really, really weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, I think, like I said earlier about how you're able to distinguish what the Titan is, a lot of that is down to the weapon that you can see the Titan holding, because there are, rather than the actual sort of outline of the Titan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Gavin in that like the Titan designs itself sort of leave you in question a bit. I mean, the Ronin, for example. I mean, you'd expect a robot like with a massive, sword basically to have a lot more armor plating and stuff like that. So it seems a bit off that that class doesn't have a lot of armoring, and some of them do look a bit off-putting as opposed to some of the other ones, like in appearance.
Yeah. In my head, I had them looking like the Armored Core mechs, rather than like the extreme of them looking a bit like Gundam mechs, but that's sort of like more sort of smooth designs, I suppose. They're a bit blockier than I was expecting, but maybe that just ties into the world a bit more.
In inverted commas, but they have this that the way they've been designed suggests like kind of rather than sleek or stylistic decisions, they're just kind of utilitarian.
They look very practical, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a concession that's been made to the the very military design. I think is that I don't because I mean I don't feel like they have much presence as like a marketing tool, because it's not like you look at something it's like, wow, that's a Titan, capital T, wow. But it does fit thematically, but
they're not distinctive in the same way that you could market a Transformer or a Gundam when you're like, that's a giant robot.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, they look a bit more like the Lost Planet mechs, actually.
Oh no, you mentioned it.
Sort of
they do actually. I agree.
They're like, we've had to sort of like scrap
together pieces
metal and stick stuff together, and like, because we need them as many as we can as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so you mean
sort of thing.
I've got some.
I mean, it's sort of a radical departure. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys played Mech Assault back on the original Xbox, but I mean, those sort of looked a lot more chunkier and a lot more better designed, even though it was an Xbox game.
I used to play MechWarrior when I was younger, and there's a big variety of mechs in that game.
There's so many, yeah.
MechWarrior's quality.
That was a good game,
really
that was.
Right, that's approaching like half an hour on.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I feel like I think I've just been.
It is right. Yeah, let's talk about something else. It was all very interesting, though.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else. Right, I've been playing Civ 6 for the past 2 days, but I've been playing it quite a lot for the past 2 days, so enough to talk about it. Have any of you guys been playing Civ 6?
I have not, but I am incredibly
any
jealous.
knowledge of it?
I've got into Civ 5 about a year ago, with like a small group of friends, and just play it a lot. But have not picked up Civ 6. How is it? Please tell me everything.
My current advice is wait to buy it, because a lot of it is a bit it's a bit frustrating at times. It's good. It's a good game. It's a lot more complicated than Civ 5. There are a lot more bits of it that I still don't properly understand how they work. Even after I must have played it for nearly 15-20 hours, I think now. And yeah, there are good amounts of it that I'm like for example, the culture victory. Basically, for a culture victory, you have a lot of culture and you get tourists. How you get tourists is not clear. What your tourist value is not clear.
Yeah.
It just seems to happen.
All the menus.
Yeah, and I always feel like I'm missing some sort of tooltip or menu that explains some things, but I don't think I am. I just don't think it's there yet.
It was sort of a bit like that in Civ 5, though, wasn't it? I mean, like the diplomacy option and stuff like that, was integrated really weirdly and stuff.
Yeah, diplomacy has always been a bit of a struggle, but they don't actually have a diplomacy victory in this one at all. So
is there not?
It's less of a...
Oh.
No, there's not at all at the moment. Well, it might be added in later expansions, but no. There's... What have we got? We've got tech, culture, religion, domination, and score, obviously.
Has religion been improved, like in how you spread the religion from the other games?
See, I never played anything but base Civ 5, and I know it was added later on as an expansion, but I quite like the religion in it. In this one, you can... So, at a certain point, after fulfilling some specific requirements, you can make your own religion. So you can make like an established one, or you can make your own up, which is quite funny. Calling it all sorts of weird stuff. I had one called Mustaches today because the logo sort of looked like two mustaches together. Yeah. But it's quite good. So you've got missionaries and apostles that you can sort of send out to try and convert other civilizations, and you've got inquisitors that you can keep in your own place, and they erase other religions when they appear. I think it works okay.
How much do the like, so when you gain a religion, sort of how much does it affect, like, I guess your game strategy? Because I think I found in Civ 6, the religions were just kind of nice bonuses, but they were never essential. Like, you could play the game and be a perfectly strong civilization, but you didn't need a religion.
Yeah, you could have like a full military thing.
Like,
yeah.
it was all religions were
I
always
think
nice bonuses that were sort of useful.
Yeah, I think that's sort of true still, but because this civilization has almost two tech trees, it's got the regular tech tree and it's got a civics tree, which lets you set certain elements of your government every time you upgrade it, which are things like you get more. You can just get points for great people. You can reduce the cost of buildings by 50%, but you can only have. I think you start off with being able to have 2 in, and then it goes up to having to have 4, and then eventually you can have like 6 or 8 or something. And there's absolutely loads of them. So there's whatever your game strategy is, there's like civics that will fit that mold, and that your culture is what makes that upgrade, whereas science is just your science to make that upgrade. Which is,
as a casual observer of Civ 6 since it's come out, to completely hijack the conversation.
go for it.
I've noticed, because I know that Nevada, you've played Endless Legend as well.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that the city mechanics in Civ 6 seem very, very influenced by that game. Just the way they all pan out.
Yeah.
Or at least some of the things, like, you know, the expanding into different districts and cities being generally more numerous.
Yeah.
Than in Civ 5.
Yeah, because in Civ 5 you had a global happiness. In this, happiness is tied to a specific city, so there's no loss from just making 1 million cities basically and expanding as much as you can. There's very little drawbacks to that apart from obviously gold income, but that's pretty much the only real drawback to making loads of cities. But the other main thing that I haven't said is the unstacking of cities, which has been talked about quite a lot from when they were pre-released and stuff. So that's basically that you make previously everything was just held within your capital city, and you just sort of expanded on tiles, and then you allocated workers to each one. But now instead of doing that, you have districts for different things. So you have like a merchant district, the science district, one for entertainment, one for production, one for military, and they take up a specific hex, and then only buildings of that type can be built in that hex, so you have to build that first. And the same is with wonders as well, so you have an entire hex is taken up by the pyramids or the Hanging Gardens, so it makes and it also each of the districts get sort of a bonus depending on what they're adjacent to. So I might be wrong on this, but science district, you get more science when you're near mountains. For the religious district, you get more if you buy woods, forests. I think that's right. But anyway, yeah, there's each district you get a bonus for being near something else, which makes your city planning more in depth. So instead of just thinking, well, I'll just put it here because it has good resources, you think, I'll put it here because it's near some mountains and I'll get bonus science, or I'm by a river, so I'll get bonuses from the river. Yeah, go on. You were going to say something. Sorry.
Have you noticed, like, in your gameplay playthrough at the moment, is there any like overpowered units or like overpowered factions or?
I've not that I can tell so far. A friend of mine said that Germany is overpowered because of how how their production works. Because you can have loads of cities and no drawback to it. They can produce lots very quickly. But I haven't really noticed anything so far that's been massively overpowered. I've only played as 4 civilizations though.
Which ones?
There's 12. I've played as Gorgo for the Greeks. I played oh god, I'm trying to think what others I played as. I played as the Scythians. I've played as I think I might have played as England in one game, and I think I haven't tried, and Japan. That was it. And they're all varied. They're all really different in the classic sort of Civ way. Everybody plays really differently and has a different style, which is really good. But there's still some bits that quite frustrate me from Civ 6. I'm like, why have you not included that? Like when you finish production on a city, you don't know what you've just finished. So you've got like 10 cities. You're like, what was I building last here? What was I planned to do next? Because you can't queue production either. It just tells you that there's a space to now produce something else. It doesn't tell you what you did before.
That's a bit annoying.
Yeah, and there's no queuing system, so you can't like queue. Right, I want to build these 5 things in the next sort of 20 turns. You have to, every time something finishes, you have to go back to your city, choose a new thing to be built, and if you've got producing one thing a turn on 10 cities, it's really annoying.
Hopefully in the next patch they'll be able to like fix that, to have like a ×5 button. Like
I mean, Civ 5 had that. I think every Civ has pretty much had that I've played anyway.
I never realised that you could queue production. I don't know, like
What?
I think it's because I've had Civ games where like I'll be doing nothing but clicking next turn for like 20 turns. So like as soon as I get to make a decision, I'm like yay. Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
I think there's a lot less of that sort of like just building stuff, waiting for stuff to happen. There's a bit at the beginning where you're just sort of getting going, but then after that, there's always things that you can be doing, because there's religion, and then eventually you can get like archaeologists, and you can do spies now. There's so much to do in it.
Oh yeah, I saw that
at all
espionage
times.
Seemed like they've been overhauled. It seems like there's loads more that you can do with spies now.
Yeah. I haven't even touched that yet. I haven't even recruited a spy in any of my games, so I have no idea how that is so far.
So you have to
But
actively
there's,
recruit them now. It's no longer just you have reached the Renaissance.
Yeah, you have
of
you have a certain allotment of spies that you can have in your empire. So, and then researching certain techs or civics lets you have more, I think.
You have to tell us what it's like when you've done the spy system and stuff.
I will. Like I said, I'm still trying to get to grips with parts of it, but there is still bits of it that just immediately have just frustrated me, because there's just bits that aren't explained well about what things do. There's bits that are not sort of that are just frustrating, like the not be able to queue stuff and constantly having to try and remember what you've previously built. Overall, it is really good. I think it's probably one of the, I don't know if it's the best base Civ game I've played, but I think it's probably the best sort of pre any patches. There's just so much choice. Like, you sit down, you build your first city, and you're like, right, what on earth am I going to do? There's so much choice. Once you've built like those first 2 buildings, you're like, right, I've explored a bit. I could do anything now. I could make a religion. I could start like trying to do trade routes. I could start doing loads of science.
So you say it's better than Civ 5 release?
I think so, yeah. Without like loads of the patches that made things a bit easier, and some of the expansions that added extra stuff. There's just so much breadth of things to do. It's slightly overwhelming at times, especially when you first start. You're like, there's a lot to do. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, but I think
I've heard a lot
good.
of complaints about the AI though, from a friend of mine who plays the game a lot. He is quite a heavy strategy game player, but he has said it's very weak.
I haven't really noticed too much, because I've never really thought the AI is ever that good. Admittedly, I don't often play strategy games on anything more than like whatever's above normal, like slightly above normal, so like hard, or I think it's like Chieftain on Civilization games. But I haven't had a major issue
Prince
with it.
is normal, because I think above Prince, then it lets the AI cheat.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's kind of always how it's been, and it's always how it is in all those sort of games. But
I don't know, I think it's kind of a shame. I know nothing about AI programming, but it gets to a point where you can't improve them anymore. You just simply have to give them,
God
like on the high,
abilities.
because on the high difficulties they start with, the first level of text researched and certain things. I think
they just get like sort of buffs all around. So they'll start off like a couple of tiers higher, or they'll have like elite units while you have sort of basic infantry.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, for a new coming player to say has no like experience with this franchise before, would you say there's like a good tutorial or like a good learning curve in order to get into Civilization 6 if you're a new player?
See, there's a tutorial when you start it. There's technically two tutorials. There's one that's for if you've never played a Civilization game, which I haven't touched. I assume it's adequate. And there's one that's if you've played other Civilization games in general, so Civ 5 or anything below that, which I'd say is not very good. It doesn't explain things well as to what stuff is. It doesn't tell you. There's so much stuff left out of how does this work, especially around the religion stuff, like this. Because for religion, you go and take like a missionary or an apostle to another city, you activate them, and then they do a number of religion in that city, but it never tells you how much you need for that to convert the city. It doesn't tell you what's really going on there. There's lots of hidden numbers in some of it.
So
that's
you just have to have faith.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. Apparently, the community is writing a manual for it. I think I saw on Kotaku last week, which is probably going to be a lot more detailed than anything that Firaxis will put together. So
yeah, because I jumped into Civ 5 and I was completely new, but I play with friends who are sort of veterans of the game and sort of way above my level. But basically every game on Steam, there's like a really comprehensive, really well put out manual for like every single Civ 5 Civ.
yeah,
So
Yeah, it's a
hopefully
really
Civ,
good guide.
there'll be
Civ 6 will get something similar.
yeah, no, we definitely will.
Like it's a great community.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think 'cause I jumped in after I bought the complete edition, so it had
on Steam
all the
sales.
DLC, had all the DLC, had all the maps.
mm.
So I never saw Civ 5, in its launch state.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I'm waiting to do with Civ 6. I'm just gonna wait till everything's released and then
I think
pick it up.
give it till they've had a few
I mean,
patches to just sort of tidy some of the things up, and or maybe wait to the first expansion so it properly fixes some stuff. I don't know.
Speaking of waiting for Civ, my thoughts on the game just now, I don't have it, can be summarised with one short sentence that's also a question, which is £50 fucking pounds? Question mark.
I feel like that's a rabbit hole that we cannot
It
the
could
price
go
of
on
video
forever.
games.
I think it's worth £50.
Speaking of new expansions, I heard there's a new expansion for the Old Republic.
yeah,
Ooh,
segue. Vroom.
Not as interesting as a segue, unfortunately. So the new expansion for Knights of the Old Republic, that's the MMO, in case anybody is wondering. It's Knights of the Fallen Empire, so it continues after the conclusion of the Fallen Empire, where you basically stop a massive Dark Lord, Palpatine style, and this sort of picks up with the origin story of one of our main villains. So it's set also to coincide in December with SWTOR 5.0. So this is sort of set to introduce some new changes. I think each class gets a new main ability at level 52. So bounty hunters get like a sort of barrage where they unleash, flamethrowers and rockets and stuff. Agents get it's like a really new sniper blast. So all the classes sort of get an update to all their skills, which is going to be really good to learn the rotations and try and master again. But yeah, it's 5.0. We'll see how it goes. But
I think that
I just wanted to ask, because I absolutely love Star Wars, and I've always loved the Knights of the Old Republic trailers.
yeah,
But the recent ones, I've been like, I have no idea what any of that is. I mean, so I'd played the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic RPG, but the recent trailers that showed the Fallen Empire. Who are the Fallen Empire?
yeah. Basically, they're the main enemy of the original game, Star Wars: The Old Republic, is like an old emperor, sort of like the Palpatine of that era. And basically, what he does is he consumes planets and gets all the force from those planets. And so basically what he did is he played off the Republic and the Empire against each other to weaken them both. And this fallen empire is sort of his new empire that he's brought in to crush them. So it's
Okay,
sort
so
of a
they're
continuation.
they're not the Sith. It's not the Republic. They're a third faction.
Yeah, they're a third sort of neutral faction that instead of seeing it as both like a light side and a dark side, they more see it as like a tool rather than in shades of light and dark.
Yeah.
Means they need to write less story content as well, because they don't need to do one from either side. Wait.
Yeah, I got to admit.
Efficiency.
Yeah, I got to admit with you, Gavin. I mean, what enticed me about the original Star Wars: The Old Republic was the class story. So you know, the class story of the bounty hunter working his way up through the ranks, the Imperial agent, and the Sith warrior, sort of becoming that ultimate lightsaber wielding warrior. So it's tough to see these class stories sort of fade away into this, like sort of everyone is the Outlander or everyone is like the hero, rather than the specific class stories, which, I mean, I find is a little bit lazy on their part, and it becomes improbable later when you have like, you know, a bounty hunter with a blaster pistol going up against, you know, the best force user in the galaxy, pretty much.
Are the stories good in Old Republic? Just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, everyone sort of raves about like the Imperial Agent story, and I think if you're looking for like a good story with twists and turns, that's probably your best bet, because I think it has 4 different endings you can choose from, decided on like how you did the different chapters. But yeah, I'd say, you know, if you're not looking to pay money and you don't want to do the subscription, like a free to play, you can play the levels 1 to 50 for free on each of the class stories.
Because I recently tried Final Fantasy 14 online, and people had talked about how the story was good in that, and it was just bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit. It got to a point where I think I just skipped all the cutscenes and all the dialogue. I was just like, this is nonsense. This is not useful story stuff. I was just wondering, because people if it was like, so it's definitely like something that's worth experiencing. It's not just like fluff, basically. Just like, go and do this, and then, oh no, there's bad people. They're not good. You should stop them. It's like an actual.
It's a Final Fantasy game, so there's something about the evil people, and probably try to steal some crystals.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Always with the fucking crystals.
Yeah, always those crystals, man.
Generally, I enjoy sort of the melodrama of a Final Fantasy game, but this was just like, it was just poorly like executed and written. And I was just like, I don't care about any of these characters. They're all annoying. None of it's interesting. I just want to level up and just like, maybe that's more of a difficulty of MMOs, trying to make you feel like a valued person in the world when every fucker's off doing the same thing as you.
I really liked a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I thought it had like a really good, like the gameplay had a good tone, and I liked the world and everything. But yeah, the story was basically just complete skippable guff.
Yeah. I think the world is good. The world building is good, but the story is not. It's just not.
I've never played a Final Fantasy game and know next to nothing other than there are at least 15 of them.
At least.
There's crystals.
what's the plot? Are they all related, or
They're all usually quite varied and different.
Yeah.
In setting and characters and like sometimes like technology stuff, but generally there's usually bad
world?
people.
Is
No.
it? Oh, so each one
kind
is
of. No. Some of them do in a weird way, but they don't share a story.
so it's not like a persistent world that it sets games in. It's just
No, there's like a setting for each one, and it always has a name, but it like from the first one through to like now they've all been in different settings.
Yeah, so you have like 13-2, like Lightning Returns, that are set in the same world.
Yeah, and like 10 and 10.
Yeah,
too.
but every numbered instance is set in a different place. If you think of it like
they
as
sort of have their own like So they sort of have their own like individual stories that tie into like a greater whole.
No. So you could play Final Fantasy 2, have an entirely different story world characters to what you play in 6. They're entirely different. They're just only thing that they're linked by is the name and sometimes the people involved in making it.
And generally, like, some of the tone and some plot contrivances tend to reoccur, like crystals.
Yeah.
There are a few characters who reappear, like Sid,
Oh yeah,
he shows
character
up.
names are like reused and stuff, and monsters are similar. So it's like a bit like some of the Dragon Quest games. Like they reuse sort of a lot of some of the enemies and stuff, but they're actually not related in any way. If you do, but to get an idea of what a story is, they're always some sort of like grand epic, basically, with like twists and turns.
Okay.
And if you think of like a fantasy trilogy or something, they're like that sort of epic scale of things happening.
Okay, so sort of like big fantasy opera.
Yeah, pretty much.
With lots of spiky hair.
Yeah.
And the quality can vary
Yeah.
of the story,
Yeah, that's true.
to say the least.
Which one are you talking about when you say, yeah, they do?
Oh, I don't know. No idea.
Some of them.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think that 13 needed 3 games.
I really don't think it needed 3 games.
Yeah, I'd argue it didn't really need much of one game.
Wait, what? There are 3 games.
There's 3 Final Fantasy 13s.
Yeah.
There's Final Fantasy 13, 13 Lightning... No, 13 2,
Yeah.
and then 13 Lightning Returns.
And they're all
And they're all...
telling
They
us.
went to the Battlefield School of Counting them.
Yeah. Basically the guy who makes... Is it the writer or the character designer or something?
Something like that.
I don't know. He really likes the main character of those games, and so he was able to swing 3 of them. Like, he made Lightning, and he was like, "Oh, I love this. I love this video game, lassie." And now there's like 120 hours of video game
Yeah.
at least about her.
But the second one barely even involves her. It's just like, what if you're like obsessed with this person who appears in it for like maybe an hour? Like, you see a couple of 20-second cutscenes. Oh, tense. 13-2 was an arduous experience that I gave up with after about 12 hours.
At least I'd say the gameplay was better in 13-2.
Oh, yeah.
But that was mostly just because the Final Fantasy 13. I'm not joking when I say this. You don't get access to like the entire game's like repertoire of attacks and systems until 7 to 9 hours in, and for most of those 7 to 9 hours, you might as well be playing the game on auto. Like, it has a button that does that.
Yeah, pretty much, because you just sort of walking forwards pretty much, and you occasionally have a battle along the way. There's no divergence. But I suppose that in some regards though that helps sort of with the pacing of like the boss fights and stuff, because they always felt really challenging. I don't know, I quite liked 13, and I quite like Lightning as a character, to be honest. It's probably one of the better sort of leads.
One of the better, stronger female leads, yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Well, just in general in Final Fantasy games, quite often the lead character is a bit fucking irritating. And at least Lightning has like a goal. She knows what she wants, she's going to go fucking get it. Some of the leads in Final Fantasy games, you're like, oh, fucking pull your shit together, alright? You're being ridiculous.
Spiky-haired emo boys.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, I was just making a snide comment.
Oh, Gavin, do you want to talk about Persona 2?
Oh yeah, we put that on the agenda.
We did, we missed it off nearly.
Basically, I didn't have anything recent to talk about, so the best thing I could offer was a game from 8 years ago, which I've been playing. I've been playing Persona 4. Speaking of games, actually, that do a big series and vary a bit, but keep a lot of thematic things similar. The entire, like, Shin Megami Tensei meta series is basically like that.
Yeah. It is.
And so I've been playing through Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2. Very late release.
It's a fighting
for the
game, right?
PS2.
It's not a game about just making personas.
It's an RPG. There was a
okay.
fighting game based on it released later for some reason.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah.
Persona games are like one half sort of life sim and one half dungeon crawler.
Yeah, especially in Persona 4. Well, obviously Persona 3 was quite like that as well, but yeah, they did a lot in Persona 3 and 4. I think the first two are a bit different and a bit
Yeah, I have not
strange.
touched them, to be honest.
All the old, partially due to not being translated for years and years, but all of the old Shin Megami Tensei games are just weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, Persona's kind of generally a bit saner. But yeah, it's half like this high school, like life simulator, and half this thing where you go into a television and fight monsters.
Sounds like a classic gem that I should have played on the PS2.
It's such a good game. It's one of my
How does
all-time
how
favorites.
how does it hold up playing it? So long after.
Since it's a PS2 game, but really 2008. It was a really late release. It's not really that old for a PS2 game.
Okay.
But so I'd say it holds up pretty well. The criticism that's raised a lot is, right, this is a game that is, because I've been thinking about this a lot, this is a game that's like at least 90 hours long. And a lot of that time you spend in pretty repetitive dungeons. Like, the dungeon crawling is quite kind of copy-paste, quite standard.
Yeah. I really hope they improve upon that in Persona 5. More of the dungeon crawling stuff. Really needs a splash of something.
Is there a release date for Persona 5 in January or something?
February something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Persona 5 is a bit of a departure even from the last two, which is quite good, because I suppose if you did 3 like high school based ones, although I'm not sure, I think it is vaguely. Basically, in this one, it's got a weird plot about you being a mysterious masked phantom thief, and then there's the thing with the weird monsters again. I don't actually know that much about the plot. February the 14th, it's coming out for the PS4 and PS3.
Cool.
But yeah, Persona 4 is very good, and if you still have a PS2 kicking about,
it's
or if you want to emulate it, yeah,
well, it's on
good,
Vita as well. If you got a Vita.
Ah, yeah, there was the golden version.
I'm really tempted to buy a Vita recently. It's kind of at that point where it's got some really good games on it, and it's going for quite cheap because it's kind of ended its life cycle. So
quietly, it's been taken out the back and
yeah. So there's quite a few games I'd like to play, and I'd quite like to replay Persona. I'd quite like to have it as a handheld and carry it around with me then.
It'd be good for, like, if you're sort of travelling around a lot, like, going in the airport or from plane to plane or something. Just like a small handheld, classic you can just sink your teeth into with a really long length.
Yeah. It's just I quite like, and it is one of my favourite games, so it'd be really nice to play again. There's a couple of the Shin Megami Tensei games that I really enjoy, actually. Quite like Lucifer or Nocturne. That's another weird one.
I've not played that one, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, I tried to get into the ones that are on the 3DS, the digital devil summoner ones, but I just didn't have the same appeal. It had, because they've got like an almost Final Fantasy Tactics sort of overlay, and then it goes into the regular sort of battles. I just didn't see the point of the overlay. It was just like, I'm doing is walking up to a person and initiating a turn-based fight. There's no point to this.
Was that Devil Survivor or something like that? I can't remember. It's weird.
Something like that, or it might be Digital Devil Summoner or something.
Yeah,
something like that. And I just...
It's weird because there's like DS ports of like 20-year-old games, and then there's DS games.
Yeah.
And they're very similarly named.
Yeah, no, they are. But yeah, I just didn't get him with the story either. I just didn't mesh. But other people seem to really like him. They're quite fun.
So, to conclude, is there any other games that everybody's excited for coming up this month or the next couple of months?
Well, there's one. I think it's out in November. It's what's the Deathwing? No, Space Hulk Deathwing. That's the one. Sort of like a Warhammer survival shooter.
Oh yeah, that one looks quite good.
Cool.
And basically you're angry men in big suits of armour whose job it is to go and clean out a spaceship full of aliens.
Excellent.
Sounds
very
cool.
violent janitorial work, basically. Yeah, it's a sort of Left 4 Dead style, sort of, I think.
That's interesting. 'Cause we don't see enough games that are like in that sort of Left 4 Dead style. It's a shame, that sort of camaraderie.
That's the thing, I feel like I've played so many now. Like, I've played Left 4 Dead, and I had a go at Vermintide, had a go at, well, the Killing Floor games.
Yeah, those are the only two I
no.
hadn't thought of them in Tide actually, but yeah, Left 4 Dead and Killing Floor are the only two that I can think of. But surprising that more things haven't cropped up with that sort
I
of
don't
style.
know, I think it's a slightly, like, limited genre. Like, I think it's, people would get bored of them very quickly if there were too many.
Yeah, I suppose. It's just there's none, basically.
I really enjoy them while I'm playing them, but then I've never felt. I know some people spend like hundreds of hours on like Left 4 Dead and Vermintide, but like after I've been through all the maps a few times, and I've gone up the difficulty a bit, I just get a bit bored of them. Really, I mean, I like them while I'm playing them, but they don't keep me hooked.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead was fun to get through each map, but
Yeah, I agree with you, Gavin, as well. One of the games I'm looking forward to, you guys have probably heard of it, is Horizon Zero Dawn. It's the Archer game where you basically capture massive dinosaurs and they're basically robotic.
Yeah,
It seems like it has a really intriguing story, and from the trailers and stuff, I'm sort of a bit fascinated to find out more. So I think that drops in March on the PS4, or February on the PS4. Sorry.
it looks like a proper like massive like fully realised Monster Hunter sort of game, and
Yeah.
I love Monster Hunter
It's,
series.
PS4 only, right?
Yes,
Might
at
be
this
right.
point it's a PS4 exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember seeing some video being like, that looks really beautiful. So, yeah, maybe like a sort of flagship game for the console one.
Yeah.
Speaking of PS4 exclusive games, I'm excited for The Last Guardian. Just I don't know if it'll actually be good because it's spent about 2 million years in development.
Yeah.
I could rant for hours about how good Shadow of the Colossus is, and I would, I think, viciously kill anyone who disagreed with me.
I think that's fair, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played Shadow of the Colossus, but I have heard of The Last Guardian purely as just a game that people want that's been in development.
Yeah,
I'm still sceptical
I
it's going to come out, to be honest. I just don't believe it.
yeah, yeah. It's been pushed back so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard anybody like say a bad word on Shadow of Colossus, and the graphics on Last Guardian look just absolutely amazing.
I think it's more the tone I'm looking for in Last Guardian. Shadow Colossus had this very unique sort of tone and atmosphere to it that I've never seen anything since. I'm hoping that Last Guardian's going to sort of capture like a little piece of that. Even if it's only a little piece, I'd be quite happy with it. So
Yeah, like the Team Ico style.
Yeah.
Like I can't get enough of it. Anytime I finished Ico and when I finished Shadow of the Colossus, I was just like, I wish there was more of this.
yeah,
But then it was good because it was very self-contained. But I want to play Shadow of the Colossus again. Actually,
I don't have my copy
I'm getting
anymore.
that feeling.
So I don't have a working PS2 anymore, so I've just recently ditched all my games because I was like, I'm never gonna. They all just sit there in a box. So just.
Not a hoarder.
I think I was, but I just I don't have any space. I might have to move flat at some point. I have to carry it all with me. Moving flats is like the most traumatic experience, especially when you've got to have like a million boxes. So I'm like, if I can get it digitally instead, that's much smaller space to hold it on. It's the same game. I might just get the collection or something when it comes out on. It'll come out on PS4 eventually, I'm sure. So.
I mean, I've moved 26 times, I think, total in my life so far. Like 27 when I moved to Toowoomba eventually in Australia in like a month or two. But moving 26 times, you do not want to have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, see, I've moved like 5 times and I'm like sour about that, so...
26, man, 26.
Yeah, so I really don't have a leg to stand on there, to be honest.
No, not really.
Right, the other thing I would say I'm looking forward to is Pokemon, but I will talk about that with Mike because I think he'd be mighty upset if I talked about it while I'm here. So, a conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, the only RPG he gets along with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that so? One of the main games, not like a new app or.
Oh yeah, no, the
No,
You
real
ass.
Sun and
Pokemon.
Moon, yeah, rather than Pokemon Go. which had its moment of enjoyment, Pokemon Go, and then Niantic shot itself in the foot by just basically not getting their act together. They're like, we're making millions, but we're still gonna just leave you with this shitty app that barely works.
Yeah, because I played it for a week, and then it just became very cynical about it, and all my friends were like, it's awesome. I'm like, it's gonna fail.
I think it was also the fact that people in Australia almost got killed by cars on the highway when they were trying to chase down the Squirtle or whatever.
Yeah, but that's their own fault, to be honest. You can't help stupid. You really can't.
I mean, there are a couple of people. I think there was someone in the UK that got stabbed.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I think there was. There's somebody who found a dead body.
Yeah,
wasn't
people.
there? So, all sorts of.
I remember hearing
yeah.
about people getting mugged. They'd put down like a lure, and then
Yeah.
if someone came over, they'd just mug them.
Yeah. It still's got
Whatever I
like
think about.
good retention though. I think I read a thing on SurveyMonkey recently. They have like still got excellent retention, and they're making like 2 million a month from it or something. So
Yeah, well, I'm slightly annoyed about that because I wrote an article very shortly afterwards, being like, it's gonna fail, everyone, and it hasn't. It's still going.
I feel like it failed from like a hardcore perspective because there's a lot of people I think who got into it at the start and played it for ages and ages and ages, like every day,
Yeah.
and then they petered out quickly because it's just fuck all to do. But obviously it's a casual game, so casual people don't play it that often, but they play it over a long space of time.
yeah, exactly. I think some of the reason I stopped playing it was when they didn't have the tracking system just wasn't working. I was like, I'm not just gonna wander around aimlessly, and then they sent a cease and desist to the website that was like basically hacking them and showing you where they were. And I was like, well, I would have still gone on it if I could find out where the Geodude was around me or something, rather than it's somewhere within 3 miles of you. Have fun.
3 miles.
Pass.
Just run 3 miles in a
Pass.
circle and see if you can find it.
Pretty much. So yeah.
I stopped playing it because I had this vision when I heard of it, wandering around like a fucking adventure, finding Pokemon, just being like, get in my balls, you bastards. But then
Sorry.
the reality was my flatmate's really into it, where he was,
Yeah.
and the reality of it was like, all right, so how do I become a Pokemon legend? And it was basically come and sit on this beach in the freezing rain because there's 3 Pokestops near each other, and I was like, this doesn't match up with my what I want from
No,
this.
it doesn't. It doesn't match up with like the image of you like going down through some like long grass, battling some Pokemon, coming out victorious, taking on a gym leader, and getting winning a badge. It's just you miserable
It's
on
just you in the rain without an umbrella.
Under an umbrella with my phone plugged into a portable battery, like my fucking Ash Ketchum hat becoming really soggy.
I was so disappointed just because I don't know, the whole like appeal of the game purely came from people's hype about Pokemon. Like, I think it was the Pokemon themselves in the game were kind of functionally bland.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
You wanted a specific Pokemon, not because it was good in Pokemon Go, but because it was good in a Pokemon game, or like you had, I wanted a Squirtle because that was my starting one, or like people want like a Gyarados because it's powerful in the game, but in Pokemon Go it's just a bigger number. Like, it's not different from.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of missed out on one of the things about Pokemon, which is you get your wee Pokemon pal, and you take him with you, and you go on adventures, and you have him beat up a bunch of other Pokemon, and it becomes stronger. But in reality, in Pokemon Go, you were just wandering around, just being like, all right, okay, I'm chucking you in the bin, I've got a new one,
Yeah.
and so on.
It's like the
Yeah, it was very mercenary. It's just like,
yeah.
sorry, mate, you're only a 20.
The absolute brutality of magical animal fighting.
It's either you're going to feed it a load of candy and it's going to get strong from that, or it's just going in the bin. Those are the 2 options from finding a thing in Pokemon Go.
You send it to like the professor's Soylent Green factory to be processed
into candy that
like
you
a-
get back.
feed it.
Just fatten them up like sort of like foie gras ducks, just a feeding tube down the throat. Just eat the candy.
Yeah.
Eat that candy, brother.
Because I know that they've added the buddy feature, which lets you pick a Pokemon that you can carry around with you. and it kind of gets candy as you walk around more,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, I
nice.
saw that.
But I was waiting for them to add like proper like one like person versus person like battles and stuff like that, and trading, and there's quite a lot of stuff that you'd think that they would have moved a bit quicker on. It's been out for nearly like 5 months or something now. Came out July or something. Been a while at least, like long enough that you'd think they're making enough money to hire enough people to make it better faster.
Did anyone play
Yeah.
Niantic's previous game?
I
No, but I heard about it.
briefly did.
I had a go and I was like, this is terrible.
It was very confusing and looked awful.
Yeah, that's the thing. I loved the idea far more than I loved the game itself.
Yeah,
It's like awesome, like an augmented reality game that is played in the real world, and you have to. I was like, that's so cool.
mm.
And then I played it. I'm like, oh no, I'm just a guy standing next to a statue, trying to capture the statue.
And that would be back before that was normal behavior with
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
You're just like some weirdo with a phone.
And then yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't even Pokemon. It was just like, you have captured the statue for Team Red.
Yeah, it was quite bland, and it almost looked a bit like it's trying to be a bit like sci-fi, but it just looked
Yeah, it was sort of like sci-fi,
Weird.
like sort of like hacker.
yeah. It was like sending your missiles at this place. It's just like
Yeah, I think I had like one day wandering around with it, and then just
Yeah.
put it away.
and kind of similar thing. Went to Leeds one time and thought, I'll take it. I'll download this thing, have a go. No, never again. It's just not worth it.
What was it called again? Because I can't remember.
It was. I'm trying to Google it now. It's Niantic Projects.
I can't remember.
We're very well prepared
it
on
was-
the GamerTime podcast.
Always. It's the power of Google.
What was it called? It was a really odd name as well. Ingress.
Ah, yeah,
that
there
was
you
what,
go.
like,
Ingress.
tells you
okay.
nothing about the game.
No, it doesn't.
But it is intriguing, the title. See it go, Ingress. What the hell is that? I'll try it.
Sorry to break up an excellent conversation about funny Pokemon, but I think we're running slightly
I
over
was going
time.
to say, we've gone on a
So,
weird tangent at the end about...
Does
Who cares? But everyone loves listening to
Yeah.
it. It's fine.
Does anybody want to put some things in the trash bin or whatever we're calling it?
Oh no, we'll
the-
do
the
the
dungeon.
we'll do the
Dungeon,
dungeon
yeah.
next time because we're already about 10 minutes over. So
Right,
next,
right, viewers,
yeah,
Cool.
listeners.
listeners, readers, whatever they're called.
You
You
know that next time there's going to be something good, so you're going to come back.
yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
If that sounds like a threat, it's because it is.
Just beat them over the head until they come back.
I always try to make it sound enticing, not just like the.
Not coercive.
Yeah.
You see, when you downloaded this podcast, if you've seen Shut Up and Dance, Black Mirror, then you know what will happen.
Oh.
That will not happen. It's all going to be okay. Please come back next week, or whenever we do another one. Right, but I think that's going to tie it up. Thank you for listening to the GamerTime podcast. If you've listened to this randomly, not on our website, you can find us at gamertime.co.uk or follow us on Twitter at gamertime.co. No, not .co.uk. At gamertime UK. There we go. Well done. You can follow me personally at NevadaHM on Twitter. And you guys, do you have a thing people could find you on?
You can follow me, Gavin_GTUK. I have no followers, no real ones, they're all porn bots. But I think that's fine.
I'm at _ scruffy looking, and I think I'm even more popular with the porn bots.
I'm just my name Harrison, no underscore, the one different person in the group, and I have no followers, but I would like some followers, so please subscribe.
Did you really get just at Harrison?
I think so, yeah.
That's
That's
impressive.
impressive. I don't know why you guys have so many porn bots. I don't think I've got any.
They-
What have you
they,
been
like, they latched
googling?
on-
Or like searching on
They latched
Twitter?
on to like one post that I made about 2 years ago,
Is it
and so
about
every time I
tits?
sign into Twitter, it's like this post got like, so it's now got like 40 likes, just because it keeps getting liked.
What did
That's
you?
pretty
I just-
impressive, though.
What was the post though?
It was actually no, I think it was this year. It was when Civil War came out, and I think I just posted a photo of, you know, the scene where they're like that screenshot of them all running towards each other.
Yeah,
in
where
the
they're
airport.
fighting each other, yeah.
And I just posted it, and then I just put the Civil War comic cover underneath.
Right.
And
It's
you got
like
40
literally a
likes.
side by side, and then I just put the caption, when you're trying to have a civil war, but all your friends are someone else's legal property.
That's actually so clever, man.
Just because it was like the comic is loads and loads of people, and there's just no one in the.
There's no one in Civil War, no. It's like 5 versus 5 without the 20 versus 20.
And at some point, the AI masterminds
They were like this,
that will
this,
rule over the internet.
They thought
and they've latched onto it, and now
they've got you.
it's
just growing.
It's reaching critical mass because as the more AIs like it, then the more it's appealing for AIs to like. And so at some point, it will become a singularity.
See, I'm gonna have to follow you now just to find see this like massive block of porn bots on your followers list.
No, what's funny is that George's
Well, some of
article...
them don't even follow me; they just like the thing. It's like
No, George's article will go from like 40 likes to like 200 in less than a day.
I'm gonna look back in all of his posts and they're all gonna have like cock and penis written in them in places. And be like, well, that'll be why, won't it, George?
10 retweets from Brazzers.
it's just all of the keywords that I'm writing in white,
Yeah.
so you can't actually see them, but the bots know they're there.
Right. Anyway, let's properly finish now. After that, yeah. Thank you for listening again, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.